Welcome to Against The Oddz. Everyone has a story. What's yours? Sharing your story can inspire and ultimately transform lives.
Welcome to Against The Oddz. My name is Njiben Zama, and in today's episode, Mr. Serge Kamgang, the founder and CEO of Utrains, an IT training institute that trains DevOps engineers, emphasizes that your outcomes are determined by the choices you make. He illustrates how he went from peanuts to pastures. That is to say, from nothing to something. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode.
Hey, my name is Serge Kamgang. I was born in a city in Cameroon called Bafoussam. My parents, both my mom and my dad, are from a little village called Bache with a lot of mountain. So I grew up in Bafoussam with both my parents struggling to raise us. We are three of us. We still are out here, three of us. And they were struggling to raise us up, and they did, to the point where we are today. So I'm here today to share a little bit of what that journey looks like to what I am today. I'm an owner of a company that trains IT professionals, and I'm here to tell you the story of how everything started from living in a house without electricity in the middle of the city because we couldn't afford it, to the level where today I've helped more than 300 people change their life and raise their salary to the level of six-figure income. So let's go back to when I was growing up. So growing up, we were very poor. My dad was somebody that built houses, and even very little he would take us to work so that we can do some construction work with him. And doing all that, it wasn't enough. It wasn't even the minimum that is needed for the family. So every time we needed to go to my uncle, his name is Michel, and Michel was the one providing for our house. He was probably providing up to 60% of what we were eating, everything that we were using in the house. So this made me at that small age to start wondering, like, why is this man called Michel has so much to share with the whole community, and my dad doesn't even have enough for us to eat food? Why? So I started asking myself questions. As a little boy, I was curious to know more about what is this thing about achievement. How do one person go through life struggling their entire life, and some other person is out there making it big and being very large? And I didn't have an answer to that question, and I was just struggling through life. And some people to who you go to ask questions, maybe like friends or family member, usually they tell you that, you know, if your dad was nothing, then you're going to be nothing, right? If your dad is something, then you're going to be something in life. So that was my philosophy of life. I knew that since my dad was nothing, I am going to become nothing. But going through life, I met my wife. Back then, I was just dating her, young boy, you know, trying to fool her around, talk to her, and then one thing led to another. And I was able to move in the United States with the help of her brother. And when I moved into the United States, I still had a question in my mind. How can I be successful? How can I break this rule that says if your dad is poor, you must remain poor? How can I break this cycle? So if I'm poor, if my dad was poor and I'm going to remain poor, That means my children are going to remain poor, and we're going to create a whole generation of people with nothing to eat. So, coming to America, I was like, this is it, I made it. Cross the fence. Probably that rule works only in Cameroon. It wouldn't work here in the United States. So I got here, started my little life, working in a warehouse, collecting chocolate every day, and making $10 or $6 an hour back then. And I started thinking, I'm like, maybe that rule is true even over here, because I'm not able to pay my rent on time. I always have to go to the landlord to beg the landlord to give me a couple of days. I'm always going to the gas station with $3 in my debit card and pump the gas so that they can pull the money later and put my bank account negative. Until I joined a multi-level business. And when I joined the business, in this business, we were in charge of building a team of people. And you have to build a team so that the production of the whole team, you will have a percentage of the production. I joined the business and I started doing it. Gained a little success, but it was nothing that you can show for. But something magical happened. Even though I wasn't successful, something magical happened in the process. They have this training that they train people on how to think, on how to be a leader. Because for you to build a team, you need to know how to manage a team. So they put us in the room and they will bring motivational speaker and all the great leaders to talk to us. And then one of these leaders say to us in the room that there's only one difference between the person rich and the person poor. And I jumped off my chair because I was so hungry for this knowledge. I wanted to know what is that difference between the poor and the rich. And the man kept turning around and playing with our mind and say, just guess what it is. Nobody in the whole room of thousands of people could guess the word. He said choices. The choices that we make. And I was sitting there taking notes. I said, choices? He said, yes. I said, what do you mean, choices? He said, the poor man come back from work and decided to sit there and watch the TV the whole night. And the rich man come back from work, he decided to read a book on how to double their salary. And then I started going like, I started having this aha moment. Then I started looking between my dad and my uncle. Sure enough, my dad didn't have a library. We didn't have a TV, but we didn't have a freaking library. Then I looked at my uncle, I saw that it wasn't a big library, but you could see a couple books on the shelf somewhere. So this guy on the stage said, don't you think the successful people, they know something that the unsuccessful one don't know? And I said, yeah, maybe it's true. And I'm taking notes. He said, you need to read books. You need to change your thinking. You need to be able to see the success in your mind before you can manifest it physically. So one of the books that he advised us to read was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That was the first book I picked. Right there in the room, I was ordering the book on my computer on Amazon. I ordered the book. Another book that he advised us was The Compound Effect of Darren Hardy. I ordered that book, I read it too. And The Purple Cow. So I'm not going to go through the list of all the books that I read, but I'm going to pick some great ideas that switch everything for me. You know, all of us, we have that switch in us, and it can be triggered by many things. But I'm going to share with you guys some of the things that trigger who I am today, who I have become in this process, and it's still going, I'm still developing myself. I'm going to share some of those with you. So, after the business, I started reading the books. And when I started reading the books, one of the things that I learned in the books is that you have to write your goals down. And that was the first time I'm hearing that. My dad never told me I need to write a goal down. It was a matter of luck. Life is luck. You know, you do your best and you wish, cross your finger and wish for the best. So I took a pen and I wrote down that I have doubled my salary. That was my goal back then. My salary have doubled. Now, the guy in the book said you can say triple. I didn't want to write triple because back then triple for my salary was like 60,000 a year. No, 90,000 a year. I was at 30,000 a year. The triple was going to be 90,000 a year. So I got scared when I heard the number 90,000 a year. I said, no, let me just write double and see what's going to happen. So when I write double, I was like, 60,000 is still not going to really make my life better with my whole family. Let me bump it to 80,000. So I wrote down that I want to make 80,000. I wrote that on a piece of paper and I started reading this paper morning and evening, and I had it in my wallet. And in the book, it said you just need to set your goals and go out there and start looking for signs for that goal that you have in your pocket. So which means what your channel now, you're in the receiving mode for any idea that can bring you to that goal that you have on your little card. So as I was there, reading my goals every day, I remember my wife's younger brother moved in the house. Not moved, he came to visit us. And when he visited us, we were sitting there eating on the table and we were talking, just chatting. And I remember my wife asking him that, how is your friend? His name is Ngang. And he said, oh, Ngang is a boss now. And my wife was like, what do you mean a boss? He said, yeah, he took a short course in IT and now he's making 110,000 a year. I remember drinking water and I had 110,000 a year. I choked on the water. I put my glass down. I went in the room. Guess what I took out of my wallet? A piece of paper, my goals. I said, this is it. It just met me in the house. It came right in the house. And that's what the book said. The book said, don't worry about where it's going to come from. Don't worry about how it's going to come. It's going to come. If you focus on it with an unwavering faith, that's the point. You need to have an unwavering faith that is coming. And it's going to come. So when I read that paper, I said, this guy is saying 110. My paper say 80,000, right? My paper is saying 80,000. So now, I asked him, what did you just say? He said 110. I say, I took a pen and I say, you mean 1, 0, a comma, and 3 zeros? He said, yes, that's what you heard me right. I told the guy, I need the number for this school. And you know, in Cameroon, my name is Kamgang, and you probably realize it already. I'm from the Bamileke part of Cameroon, and my wife is from the northwest. So he said to my wife in pidgin that, look at your man, he don't hear money. Which means what? Look at your husband. He heard the word money, now he's jumping around. And sometimes people don't understand you because they don't understand the battle that is going on in your psychology. I was battling with understanding why I feel like I'm a failure. I was battling understanding why my dad was unsuccessful and my uncle was successful. I was battling with what somebody called choices. And basically he was just saying choices, which means you need to behave a certain way. You need to make certain choices, which means writing your goal down to even start with, so that you can be successful. So I was like, dude, you don't understand. Give me the number. He said, the school is all the way in Maryland. You're here in Pennsylvania. What are you going to do? And of course, the school was 4 hours away, 4 hours drive. I said, but I can talk to the man at least. Give me the number. He didn't want to give me the number because he thought it was impossible, right? And then I insisted, and finally he gave me the phone number. I called the guy wouldn't pick. The whole night I couldn't sleep. I was like 110. Oh, this is what I've been looking for. I've been going on Bureau of Labor website. Everything is 5 years degree. And then you come up with 45,000 a year, 50,000 a year, 60,000 a year, maybe 65,000 a year. But how much student loan? That was what was going through my mind. I said, this guy just said 110,000 a year. So the guy didn't pick the phone. I was sick for 2 days. Saturday morning, I took my car. I drove to this guy's place. And from my place, I was in the warehouse. I was working in a warehouse back then. And I was finishing work in the warehouse at 3:30 a.m. in the morning. I finished work 3:30 a.m., drive 30 minutes, I am home, and sleep for 2 hours. 6 a.m. I was on the road. I started driving to Maryland. If you ask me where I was going, I didn't know, but I was having signs. If you ask me where I was going, I didn't know, but these books that I read have given me some clues that something's about to happen. I wrote my goals down. Somebody just talked about an amount that is close to what I wrote down. So I took my car and I drove 4 hours. Went to Maryland. I met this guy called Emma Wara. And I said, are you Emma? He said, yes, sir. I said, do you train people in IT? He said, yes. I said, did you train somebody called Gang and he's making 110,000? He said, yes, this is his offer letter. He opened his drawer and showed me the offer letter. I said, I'm in. I don't care what it is. You see, I had that attitude because I was tuned in way before the school comes in. What happened with us sometimes is that somebody can come and they're telling you this opportunity. You're not getting it because you were not tuned in. You were not tuned in. You need to be tuned in. And how do you get tuned in? You write your goals. Because that becomes a GPS. And then when you hear something that is bringing you close to your goal, you're going to feel it. It's going to jump inside of you. That's how I was feeling about that school. So I went there and I asked him, I said, I want to be part of the school. He said, there's a session starting this morning. It was a Saturday morning. I said, what do I need? He said, you need a laptop and a book. I said, I don't have any of that. What can I do? He said, where do you come from? I said, I drove from Pennsylvania to here. He said, is it 2 hours? I said, no, this is 4 hours drive that I just did. And the man looked at me for a couple seconds. And he said, go sit in class. He said, go sit in class. So I went and sat in class. And as I was sitting in that class, everybody was sitting there with their laptop, their book, ready. As I was sitting in that class, I was hungry. Hungry is an understatement. I was starving for that success because I knew this is it. I knew this is what I've been searching for my whole life. Now I sat in the class. This man came in and he saw that I didn't have anything. He went back to his office and he brought me a paper pen with a pen. And I was sitting in the class. I said, this man doesn't know me. He's accepting me in his class. I'm telling him I don't have a computer. I drove 4 hours to be here. And he's giving me a paper pen to take the note. Why is he so nice to me? Everybody else here have paid their tuition. Why is he so nice to me? And it just reminds me something that I read in the book, Think and Grow Rich. It says, when you have such a focus on what you want, the universe will start shifting to bring whatever you want to you, to bring you whatever you want. So let's get back to the story. I sat there and we started taking the note, and the note was going well. I was enjoying it so much. I started training my classmates, giving them tutorial to help them understand the material after class. And then when we were done, I went out there, started applying for jobs, and Bank of America started me. After a few interviews I went through out there and get turned down, Bank of America started me with a salary of $116,000 a year. And I was like, wow, I made it. I was like, wow, this feels good, I made it. I said, the guy that said his choices was right. The book was right. Everything that I learned in that book is true. It's completely true. That is about your attitude. It's about your thinking process. It's about how you wire your brain to function. You wire your brain to look for opportunity for you. So I started working with Bank of America, making $116,000 a year. Here I am. Before that in Cameroon, they could not even call me for a problem of 10,000 francs CFA there, which is $5 here. They could not call me for those problems. I didn't have it, which is now $20 over here. 10,000 over there is $20 over here. I didn't have it. Now here I am sending $1,000 to them, and they were shocked over there too. They said, this guy made it. Yeah, of course I made it. Then I started walking, and I remember sitting in the office, and I started looking around me. I saw a whole lot of Indians. I don't have anything against them, but that's what I saw in the office. I saw a little bit of Russian. I saw a little bit of Chinese, but I didn't see a lot of African. I didn't see a lot of people. Let me just put it, I didn't see a lot of people in my situation. So I decided that, how can I do to help? How can I do to help? That's another thing I learned in the book. The book says, focus on what am I giving, and don't focus on what am I getting. When you focus in life on what you're giving, even business idea will start sprinkling from that idea. You go to the store, you see a cashier at Walmart. Don't say, what is this cashier giving me? Focus on what can I give her. It doesn't have to be money. You can use your word. I like your hair. Make her smile that day. Give her something that she can take home and say, oh, I wish every customer could be like this guy that came in today. If everybody was like that, I would love this job forever. Be that person for reference. So let's get back to the story. So I knew I wanted to teach. I knew I wanted to share the news, the good news, but I didn't know where to go for that. And as I look around, the only target was my wife. She's right there next to me, and I can teach her. So I talked to her. She said, no, computer is a little rough for me. I cannot do it. Please leave me alone. I said, well, honey, I'm going to break it down for you to understand. She said, nope. When I want to change my password online, you are the one helping me. So we spent a week without talking to each other. And finally, there was a big snowstorm. I had to help her clean her car for her to go to work, and I stayed home. So that's the day she discovered that I can work from home. So when she came back from work that day, she was sold. She told me she wants to do the Linux. I said, no, it's not for you. She said, please, honey, I want to do it. So long story short, I trained her, and today she's a senior software engineer with Geico Insurance. And when I trained her, and she became a senior engineer, moving from CNA to become a senior software engineer, that's when my phone started ringing. Her friends started calling, her friend husband started calling, her colleagues, husband or wife started calling, hearing her story, and it's been ringing. My phone has been ringing till today. And that was the birth of Data Service Group. I've been training people from the zero level, from the level of zero to the level where they can get their first step or their first entry in the IT field. So that's what I've been doing for a couple of years now. And some of the things that I've learned through the years of what I could call my journey to success is it's been reading those books. You gotta read the books. You gotta renew your mind. The Bible talks about the renewing of the mind. You have to rebirth. You have to give birth to who you are. You can't stay the same way and expecting to change. You have to. So step one for me, if I want to give a couple steps to somebody here to become successful in life, and I give that to my students when they come to my class. I guide them through the process and I let them understand that there are some principles that they need to follow to be successful. Success has a principle that you need to follow. It's not just random. You have to do things in a certain way. Everybody's doing things, but how are you doing it is going to make the difference between you and between the failure. So let me explain what I mean. Doing things in a certain way means what? It means doing things in a way that attracts success. So I'm going to take plumber A, plumber B. And I'm going to take an example of plumber A that's going to be successful and plumber B is going to fail. So let's say you call plumber A in your house. And then they come, they fix whatever you call them for. And then when it's done, they stand at the door and they're asking you for money. And bye-bye, see you. That's plumber B. Plumber A now, on the other side, finish the work and maybe see that they put your trash, they empty your trash earlier and the trash can is still on the street. Plumber A drag the trash and come and put it in the garage. And they see that something's wrong in the garage. They ask you, you need me to help you fix this? So they go the extra mile. That is doing things in a certain way. And when you start doing things in a certain way, it means you start focusing just on what you're giving. The plumber A is like, how can I help here? The plumber B is like, I'm done, my time is calculated, give me the money, bye-bye. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. If you receive those two plumbers in your house and tomorrow somebody is looking for a good plumber, which number are you going to give? The plumber A or the plumber B? I bet you it's not a thing. You don't need to think. Of course, plumber A is going to get that job, that new job that you found. We don't want to talk to plumber B anymore. Why do we go to the restaurant and we have just one servant that we wish she's working that day to serve us? Because they're doing things in a certain way. Why do we go to the post office? We wish we are in the line and we wish that when the line is getting to us, we're moving in a specific direction for somebody to serve us. Because that person is doing things in a certain way. And what is that way? Is that something that nobody can do? Is that something that just special people can do? No. That way is L-O-V-E, love. Whatever you're doing, put love, mix it with love, and you're going to be successful. So, let me walk you guys through some few steps. I'm not a guru, I'm not a successful coach. I am not somebody that can even show you how to be successful, but I have helped more than 300 people making six-figure income. I've helped more than 300 people change their job, change their career, and all of them are making anywhere from $70,000 a year all the way to $175,000 a year after 6 months. So this is some of the things that I teach them, which are things that I learned in the book. And the bad thing is that you can go to school all the way to a PhD and you didn't learn this principle because they don't teach it in school, they don't teach it in the TV, they don't teach it in church. You can be the best man ever, the best Christian ever, but if you don't know this principle, you're still going to fall short. So what is that? Number one, you need to write down your goals. What is it you want? Do you know what you want? Or you're just praying that God should fix your life? No. You need to know exactly what you want. Write it down. Say, I'm grateful that I'm doubling my salary. Whatever it is, write it down. Write it down on a piece of paper. Read that every day. Be aware of what is your goals. The second thing is to understand that you don't need to worry about where it's going to come from. Because people write a goal down today and tomorrow they're like, nothing changed. Where is it? No. Be patient with yourself. Keep looking at your goals and working towards it. If you need to triple your salary, what do you need to do? You need to become somebody different. What can you do to make that happen? Your brain is going to go to work for that. So the second step is to be patient and keep believing that your goal is coming. Now the third step is to understand that failure is not really failure. What we see as failure is a temporary defeat. Because even when you take my class, if you think that going through one interview and they don't take you is considered failure, then you're going to fall short. But if you consider that it's a temporary defeat and there's something here that I can learn to improve, then you're going to keep improving and finally you're going to have the job. And step 4 for me is just switch your mind, switch your thinking, switch that button, whatever it is. And whatever you're doing, focus on what am I giving, not what am I getting. If you start living this way, your life is going to be different. Do that and let me know if something doesn't shift, even in your mood, your general mood will shift. If you start looking at what can I give, how can I help, not what am I getting. So even after people get the job at my school, I still put them through this process. I say, when you go to the office, focus on what can I give, and the receiving will take care of itself. So that's my story. I don't know if I forgot any part, but if I did, we're probably going to have more conversation. I'm probably going to have more conversation here with my brother. And I was trying to crush this story so that it won't be too long. Thank you for listening. And next time, if there are questions, if you listen to this story and you have questions, let me know. I'm going to answer them. Thank you.